Thank you for coming back to Community Series Travis Amsterdam Part 2. I hope you enjoy.
And then something else you said, because traveling extensively like that and serving is, although you mentioned earlier, there's more of a, what's the word, desire to travel, whether that's for business or personal reasons, but still not something that, in what I believe, what I've seen, that a lot of us black people do.
Yeah.
Again, especially to the extent. So a lot of Peace Corps is, white people, or I mean, yeah, just non-minor, the majority, you would, if that's still the correct term.
Yeah.
And so and so when you get to your village, when you're in your training sites, they don't expect to see someone that looks like them, because we were in West Africa, so
Yeah.
a lot of people that are mostly black people, so they're expecting that blonde, blue-eyed person. And I think there are advantages and disadvantages to, more so I would say is an advantage, from my experience, to being a black person in a community. I saw it was easier for me to build trust. I saw it was harder for me to stand out, to be seen as somebody that you could just steal money from or rob or something. So I saw it just more as a way of helping me to bond with that community. So I appreciate the fact that, and just to give them a different perspective, like not all Americans are white. Some people wholeheartedly believe that, to no fault of their own. That's just what they were taught in school. That's what they may have seen in the small images of media that they saw of the United States. So just to be able to educate them that, yeah, I grew up in America. I may not be born there, but that's where I call home for most of my life. So, I appreciate sharing that culture experience with them too.
Yeah. As far as the pros and cons of serving in a black country or African country as an African American or black person, definitely I agree with there's pros and cons. Yes, it's probably easier to meld in until you open your mouth.
Right, of course.
But
and then my hair didn't help either.
Okay.
Like, they were not used to someone that had locks.
But there's also the sometimes the little microaggressions. Now, for me, again, when I served in my group, I believe I was the only African American male in my group of 120 people.
Really?
Yes, there was other African American female,
Right.
few, but I was the only African American male in my group, and so there were some incidents where there were like microaggressions and so on. Nothing for me to say, oh, I'm going home, because I really didn't realize the microaggression until after the fact. Peace Corps actually woke me up for a lot of different things. I learned more about African American history when I was in the Peace Corps than I was in my 18 years in school in the States.
Right.
I kind of walked around with horse blinders, to be honest with you. But it was a learning experience, which was great. I opened my eyes for a lot of things. But in most part, I wouldn't trade my first Peace Corps experience in West Africa for anything, because I really did enjoy it. I really learned a lot, and I'm also a first generation as well. My family's first generation from Haiti, and so I saw a lot of similarities and whatnot. Maybe I was just superimposing or projecting, but I saw some similarities to like Haitian culture and to in West Africa when I was there.
Right.
Now, another thing Peace Corps did is, prior to Peace Corps, I had never been to Haiti.
Really?
No.
Interesting.
No, it was the I'm kind of how do I say, competitive kind of person. I have some friends out there who probably say duh. But I had a friend, her name Maricel. So when I came back from Peace Corps, she's like, hey, guess where I'm at? And she said, oh. I said, where? She said, Haiti. I'm like, no, she didn't. Now she's not gonna come in, and get to my country before I get there. I promise you, I was within a few months. I was in Haiti. The good thing is my brother I had an event there and stuff like that, so I went there. My mom went, and
this was when you're still in your 20s.
Yeah. So this is like right after I got out of Peace Corps. So I'm like, because of Peace Corps, I started traveling more. I mean, I had traveled a little bit with the military, with the Navy, but nothing like Peace Corps or nothing like after Peace Corps, But I would say Peace Corps was the catalyst of, and Marisol was the catalyst of me going to Haiti for the very first time. And since then, I've been going on a regular basis. I haven't gone this year, but I've been going and bring people. I brought a few Peace Corps volunteers up there. We had a great time. And I plan to go back, and continue going and bringing people there and showing them the country, when things settle down, But I would say Peace Corps is also the catalyst of me just wanting to, just travel and see a lot more different places,
I was just gonna say that I feel like that's, and I don't know if it's intended or unintended consequence, but I want to say that it's either, and I haven't figured out which one yet, that a lot of the volunteers, because a good group of us, we still keep in touch from who the members that have served. And actually, just earlier today, I have a friend who's studying his master's in Italy right now, but he's getting to travel to a few different countries. I think right now he's in Morocco or something. And I don't know if it's the fact that people who would serve in the Peace Corps already have that inclination, or if they've developed it to an extent they wouldn't have afterwards. So that's to be determined. But whatever the reason, it's definitely I think would promote further travel. Now something you said earlier. Oh, one thing that I found to be a funny coincidence is, Guyana, Haiti, they're both within the Caribbean region, and when I was over in Africa, in Togo specifically, I remember, so my mother came to visit me for a week, right at my midpoint, so right after my first year around my birthday, and I remember joking with her, and she, she took not serious offense, but slight offense when I compared some of my experiences in Togo with Guyanese culture, because if I'm being completely honest, the Togolese culture for the most part, they're what you would consider the underdeveloped world. Economically, they have a lot of potential, but it's definitely not an experience that I don't know how to really phrase it, but it's a struggle. I mean, the struggle is real is a understatement, and so she took offense because she's like, oh no, she would say things like, oh, Guyana isn't that poor, and but there are just certain things, and obviously I had more time to get to know the culture, and there's a lot of things like whether it's the market culture, whether it's the travel, that I remember going back home, and what I would say is that Guyana is like Togo, but 50 years in the future. So hopefully, that's the state that it can be developed to it even further. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, whether that's, if you want to be geographic about it, if you want to go back hundreds of millions of years or wherever long with the supercontinent, or if you want to just say due to slavery, the fact that the West African culture was pretty much exported to the West Indies, I don't think that's a coincidence that you see certain similarities. And I think it's actually kind of really interesting to see the fact that Black people in different parts of the world have societies that have similarities. It's an ocean that separates us, but there is still a lot of cultural similarities, saying something like we're connected by something that may or may not be measurable. So that was really interesting to compare what I call home for my family and the culture that I learned about.
I definitely want to touch on something you mentioned about because everybody's proud about their own country, so I always want to make sure that we respect how we describe other people's countries, so on. But I would definitely say that if they're stagnant in certain countries in Africa, it's because a lot of them are recently out of colonialism, and they're still being kind of privileged. How would I say more. Taken advantage of for the resources, so on, and that's still going on today, and so on. So I'm not going to point fingers about who's doing and whatnot. But again, so I won't. If you can't say anything nice, you're not going to say nothing.
Right.
So I'm just going to say nice things about at least the agency that I know firsthand from what I, because collectively I probably worked for Peace Corps, including the volunteering and actual federal government for over like 13 years or something like that. Maybe, no, I'm sorry. At the time I was a strat, so maybe we were like 18, 19 years, and I, it's like the only agency that I will ever work for free. Because I really do believe in it. I could never be a used car salesman. I could never like, hey, sell this lemon. But because this is my personal opinion, because what the idea of Peace Corps is, and it's lasts over 50 something years, that's the reason I, sponsor it and I like it and I think it's, something that other people should try. I'm always, even on the clock, off the clock, working for Peace Corps or not, I'm always saying, hey, check into the Peace Corps. I know it's not for everybody, but everyone should look into it because it just gives you an opportunity to get out of your comfort zone. Learn, and because we're currently, they're currently in like over, 60 countries that, things change. But definitely all that's on the. So let's get to even a more serious subject about diversity and diversity in the Peace Corps. As I alluded to before, I was the African American male in my group. Could have been the flukes, but but I have to say that Peace Corps is doing much better in recruiting diverse candidates, reaching out to diverse communities. So that's pretty good. But we still have a long way to go. And of course, we have the Return Peace Corps volunteer community that they can reach out to. But for your experience, how was diversity in your group or in your country?
So my group was less than half your size, so the percentage was kind of easier to, I was one of, I think I was one of 3 black men, or two or 3 black men, and there were, maybe 5, 6 black women. So you could say a little bit less than a quarter. Yeah, I would say maybe 20% were black volunteers of my stage and of my cohort. And there was, a Mexican volunteer, there were a couple Asian volunteers, there was an Indian volunteer, but still, that 80% was probably white volunteers. So better than what you experienced, but still and I think with more exposure, and I also think with the fact that you have the population of the U.S. shifting to where there are more of our people that look like us representative, and not just black people, but different minority groups. And efforts such as, Leslie that recruited me on when I was at Morehouse, and efforts such as that to reach out to more college communities and outside communities that would, there would be black volunteers or volunteers of other races. So I think you'll see both through direct effort and through the natural flow of how the population of the United States is shifting, more volunteers that are willing to serve abroad, give that commitment. So yeah, my group is a little more diverse, but it's a step from where you were 30 years ago, and I think it's still a lot of potential for it to even become more diverse that are interested in serving.